Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for tuning in. We have a lot to talk about this evening. First and foremost, God bless all the veterans watching and the veterans of every American conflict, war, military endeavor, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Desert Storm, Grenada, Iraq, Afghanistan. To every veteran, every soldier, thank you. We can never repay you. We can never repay you, your family, and we can never thank you enough for everything you've done to protect our country, especially on this 20th anniversary of September the 11th. I think that our country owes a debt of gratitude to you forever. And so thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, there is going to be, unfortunately, and I've been talking about this, and I'm predicting a stock market crash. There's going to be, from that crash, I think, a further financial collapse because we're heading towards an iceberg, and we'll talk about that again tonight. But to my super chat, thank you so very much. I cannot do this without you. So if you have something to talk, give me your opinions or thoughts on everything we're talking about. I'll get to the CNN article on Trump's shadow government, which basically is about the emotions that, according to CNN, Trump evokes, which is hilarious. I'll get to actually a very interesting article on GameStop, and we'll talk about that. And ladies and gentlemen, we need leadership. I'm hoping and praying that in 2024 we get President Trump back. He's going to run again, hopefully with DeSantis. I think that, so hit subscribe to this channel if you're watching for the first time. Hit subscribe, tell your friends, because I'm talking about things that nobody's talking about. This is a really, really interesting article that everyone should, I think everyone will find very, very amusing. And we'll get to the article directly about Trump's shadow government, which it ties into this article in a moment. But here, how Trumpism explains the GameStop stock surge. Now, everything that is not sanctioned by the establishment is viewed as Trumpism. Every emotion that is negative, any emotion that is leveled at Biden or Democrats, for example, in Afghanistan. So this is 20 years ago, Biden voted alongside Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld to get us into never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts, to get our get our military to do the impossible, to win over the hearts and minds of people. And that's part of what a counterinsurgency conflict is all about. Unfortunately, there's no military definition of victory in a counterinsurgency conflict, long-term victory. And what took place was the manner in which Biden presided over the evacuation caused catastrophe, chaos, mayhem, Americans left behind, and he left $28 billion in weaponry. So, getting eaten up by mosquitoes. Oh my God. Ah! Well, I think I got this guy. Little Lysol. I think I got him. We'll just leave that bad boy right here. We left $28 billion in weaponry. Most importantly, we left Americans. Americans are still there, stranded. And that all happened because Biden wanted to spite Trump. That all happened because Biden wanted to spite Trump. He could have started evacuating January, February, March, April, May, or April, and then he could have been out by May 1st, which is what the Doha Agreement demanded. He didn't do that. He didn't do that despite Trump. Eric, H526, Luke St. Martin, thank you so very much, gentlemen. Two best moderators in all of YouTube. That is one of the biggest catastrophes, foreign policy debacles, disasters of all time in American history. That's within Biden's first 7 months. So he was inaugurated January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. Within 7 months, he presided over the worst. Within 7 months, Biden presided over the absolute worst foreign policy catastrophe. In one of the worst in American history. One of the worst in American history. And we're not done yet. We're going to get to this article, how Trumpism explains the GameStop stock surge. Now, I've spoken a great deal about the hedge fund Archegos that went under. This was during Biden's presidency. Regulators are not doing their job during Biden's presidency. He is focusing on everything other than economic growth. Biden's presidency is already a failed presidency because he's not focusing on what he needs to focus on. He's not looking at what he needs to look at. He is asleep at the wheel. And he's just concentrating on speaking to his base. They talk about Trump's base, but they never talk about the Democratic Party's base. Why is that? Because they're narcissists. They think that they don't really have a base. They think that, well, obviously everyone's going to vote Democrat. But the people who worship CNN and MSNBC and who've given their lives and their souls to obsessing over a public health issue that is third behind cancer and heart disease, or heart disease and cancer in terms of lives lost. So you have a situation where, in terms of lives lost, okay, cancer and heart disease have ended more lives, unfortunately, in our country last year, and the data shows this year. Okay. You're talking about an economy where the stock market crashed last year, not because of any bubble, not because of any housing crisis, but because Democrats forced people, prevented people from working, okay? Democrats prevented people, forced them into their homes, said you cannot work, it's to help you and to keep you safe. You cannot work. We're not going to let you work. We're simply not going to let you work. Okay? Then the market crashed. It was a self-induced wound. Self-inflicted wound. Okay? It was completely self-inflicted. It wasn't caused last year by any kind of underlying... I mean, the economy wasn't doing great. Or the economy was actually doing great. We had record low unemployment. We had manufacturing jobs. The economy, was doing fantastic. We had a record-breaking economy in many ways. And then suddenly, the response to the pandemic caused an absolute, utter catastrophe. Okay, suddenly, the response caused an absolute catastrophe. The response, fueled by Democrats, okay? The response, not the pandemic itself, the response to the pandemic. Because if you want to talk about lives lost, heart disease and cancer caused more people to lose their lives. So we had a fantastic economy. It was amazing. Record low unemployment, record low black and Latino unemployment. We had hundreds of thousands of new manufacturing jobs. I'm not making all of this up. You had liberal comedians saying we need a recession because that'll save us from Trump, because they knew that Trump would win. The economy was great. The biggest problem we faced as a country was Trump pressuring Zelensky. This is the nonsense that they focused on. Who cares? If he broke the law, then take him to court. Don't impeach him if you don't have direct evidence. And you have two military people coming out of the Pentagon saying, oh, yes, you know, he wanted to alter our foreign policy. Well, that's what a president does. That's not against the law. But we have Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller, who is a truly, truly honorable, heroic man, calling for accountability from top generals and military brass, and he then faces consequences. He's not championed by the same media that championed. He should be championed by media, but he's not championed by the same media that championed a couple people who accused Trump of pressuring a foreign government to investigate his direct political rival, which is exactly what they did to him. Then the FBI found no evidence that he organized or told anyone to do anything illegal in January. So they don't have anything. They obsessed over nonsense. They tried to always pin Trump. It never worked out. And in their minds, he's this criminal that gets away with everything because they've convinced themselves he's guilty without ever providing any evidence. They never charged Trump with a crime. They never charged or indicted him with a crime because they don't ever have any evidence that he committed a crime. Well, I want to read you this, ladies and gentlemen. And to my super chat, thank you again. I can't do this without you. How Trumpism explains the GameStop a stock surge. Now, if Archegos went down, the hedge fund, just because Viacom had a bad week and they couldn't answer their margin calls, you have, what was it? A smaller investment company, not a hedge fund, from in the GameStop saga. They lost millions upon millions of dollars just from people on Wall Street Reddit. What I'm trying to tell you is that usually, historically, the market isn't as sensitive to volatility as it is now. Okay? The stock market is extremely sensitive right now to volatility. Extremely sensitive. We've had 5 straight days of the market going down, the Dow and the NASDAQ. And the S&P 500. So, if, God forbid, next week, or in a couple of weeks, or next month, or next year, there's a 30-point crash in 1 day or 2 days, and it's not due to Democrats forcing people to stay home. It's due to a severe market correction that is essentially a crash. Does it stop at 30% or does it go to 40% in a week? And what happens to the margin calls? What happens to the people susceptible to the corporations, to the investment companies, to the hedge funds, to the retirement accounts, to the trillions, $4 trillion in hedge fund investments, $4 trillion. Hedge funds now account for $4 trillion in investments. And one small one went under because of one stock tanking. And we have $4 trillion in hedge fund investments, and we have more people on margin than ever before. Born to raise hogs! Thank you so very, very much. Greatly appreciated. I can't do this without you, ladies and gentlemen. Born to raise hogs. Thank you. Thank you so very much. I hope all is well. I hope you're having a great weekend. A healthy, safe weekend. Born to raise hogs. Thank you. Thank you so very much. I know this sounds like counterintuitive because I'm thanking people for the super chat, but this is how I can do these live streams. And Born to Raise Hogs, thank you. I think Born to Raise Hogs and everybody here save every month. Save money. You can go out to dinner, okay? Treat yourself. But if you can save as much money as possible and still treat yourself and still, be as happy as you can, but save as much money every month, because I think that I don't like to be pessimistic, because your future and everyone else's future should be bright and happy. Born to Raise Hogs, thank you again so much. Thank you. Focus on life, love, happiness, joy, success, health. Saving as much money as possible. The trajectory of your life and everyone's life here should be on an upward trajectory. But I think the country is going to where in a handbasket. I think it's going to be worse until 2022, and hopefully 2024 Trump can save us. This is a catastrophe. It's only getting worse. I don't like to talk like that. Born to Raise Hogs, everybody here. That's not my style. I don't like to talk like that. I don't like to say that the future for the greatest country in the world is going to be worse in the near term. But I mean, look at what you have in front of you. You have a stock market that's at all-time highs for no reason, with the highest rate of margin debt, with the highest amount, I should say, of margin debt, the same percentage of margin debt as I was reading last night. The same percentage of margin debt to GDP as 2008 and 2000, okay? But in terms of the dollar amount, the largest dollar amount of margin debt in the history of our country. And we're going to get to GameStop in a second because I want to read it. It's kind of a lesson to be learned. The underlying economy, the economic indicators, the producer price index is at an all-time high. The consumer price index is at a high not seen since the past decade, 12-year high. GDP is revised downwards. The whole reason that the market, and Born to Raise Hogs, thank you so very much. The whole reason the market is has gone up substantially, and it's hitting records, is because it was supposed to symbolize a rebound. Okay, it did not. We have supply chain problems caused by a self-induced labor shortage. Why we have a labor shortage with job openings? We have a labor shortage with job openings because Democrats, in their infinite wisdom, in their paranoid, apoplectic, this was the brainchild of maniacs, in their hysterical and paranoid attempt at saving people from something that is third on the list after cancer, after heart disease and cancer, according to government data. They tanked society and forced Americans, or prevented Americans from working, causing layoffs, causing downsizing, and causing a complete, unnatural shift, negative, like a catastrophe in the labor market. People lost their jobs not because of a crash, which will happen. People lost their jobs because Democrats shut down society. And when they decided, with media and experts, to slowly open up society, the jobs that people had weren't there for them. Or the companies or the restaurants or the places that employed them went under. We have, with the help of, what's the word that I should use? With the help of with the help of feckless Republicans, good for nothing, similar, good for nothing Republicans, like the Never Trump Mitt Romneys of the world, or Cheneys of the world, went along with media and Democrats, said nothing, and then now we have a labor shortage, supply chain issues, inflation is at 5%, and it's like inflation's at 5.4%, but it's not because of a growing economy. We have inflation at 5.4%, and we have labor shortages, and we have supply shortages, supply chain problems, and we have the highest margin debt of all time, and we have hedge funds and investment companies very susceptible to swings in the market. So what do you think's going to happen? And I don't want to pat myself on the back because I hope I'm wrong. I really do, because people are going to suffer under Biden yet again. I might have timed this perfectly, or it could be next year, it could be next month. But you've had 5 straight days. Maybe it goes up and then tanks. Maybe it tanks because traders are worried. But when it tanks, people are going to get margin calls, and it's not just individuals. It's the hedge funds. It's the investment banks. It's the hedge funds that are going to get margin calls and very likely go under, like Archegos, or almost go under, or lose billions and billions and billions. And guess who also loses billions? The banks that help foster their risky trades, like the contract for difference, derivatives trading, where you don't own the underlying stock, but you bet on the swing up or down. And it's a contract between the hedge fund and the bank. But the problem is, because you don't own the underlying stock, you didn't have to tell the SEC or the Federal Reserve how much you borrowed. How you like them apples? If you don't own the underlying stock with money borrowed, but you have a contract where you're just borrowing money to bet on the price fluctuation, then you don't have to tell regulators. I think now you do in a way, but you didn't up until this month. So they don't know how much. They say that hedge funds, if you read articles on these hedge funds, they say, well, they're not over leveraged. Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. We'll get to GameStop in a second here. So they don't like Born to Raise Hawks. Thank you so very much. They don't like massive swings in the market. They don't like that. Okay, and that's what's going to take place. And once you have a correction could very easily lead to a crash, because you're going to have very likely bailouts again. But I don't know how. I mean, you're going to have bailouts with money we don't have. Inflation is going to. The reason there's inflation is because we artificially we pumped money into a system that didn't need money pumped into it. We had a record-breaking economy. We had an economy where wages were increasing, stock market was high. Because the economy was doing well, wages were increasing. We had manufacturing jobs, hundreds of thousands, more so than President Obama's administration that lost several 100,000 manufacturing jobs. So Trump was keeping his promise on that. We had record low black and Latino unemployment. We had record low unemployment. People were flourishing. Democrats were touching themselves in ecstasy and, saying that the sky was falling because of Trump and Zelensky, which President Zelensky stated Trump didn't pressure him. And they were saying that Trump was a Russian operative, which was a fabricated lie. That was the only thing they were obsessed over. Then they gleefully tanked the economy, and everything went into the toilet. Now, a year and a half later, we have not rebounded. The stock market is the last to get the memo. They think that we've rebounded. They think that they're running on the euphoria of mean person, mean Trump tweets gone, and nice docile Biden here. But instead they have mashed potato brains and bumbling Blinken. If you've seen Blinken, he looks like he's seen a ghost. Like every time he speaks, he looks like he just stared into, looked at this ghost in his home. Everybody looks like a deer in the headlights. Biden, Blinken. They all look like they're just completely overwhelmed with this thing called governing that they know nothing about. Born to raise hogs, thank you again. I mean, it's like every day with bumbling Blinken, it's like Poltergeist. And Friday the 13th, he looks frightened. He looks like he just woke up from a dream where Freddy Krueger was chasing him. Every time you see him speak. Same with mashed potato brains. They all look like... And it's also, these are all like defense mechanisms too, because they don't want to be like leading the country. They don't want to be. You think they want to be leading the country? No. They know that they know that they got more than they bargained for. Okay? It's a lot harder than simply media propping you up. Okay? We face now a problem in Afghanistan. We face issues with China now and Taiwan. We face everything from inflation to the biggest jobs miss in history. Okay, on record, 700,000 jobs we should have created. More than 700,000 jobs should have been created. They weren't. So when do you think the stock market is going to realize this? When do you think the stock market's going to realize this? So it's like once they realize that stocks are way overvalued, and that's like the last thing that they'll realize. Stocks are way overvalued. And you have inflation, and you have the most margin debt in history, and you have regulators that can't actually regulate. So the Democrats, they pride themselves on regulation, but they don't know how much debt there is. They don't know how much debt these hedge funds have taken on because, like I said, you don't need to inform the SEC or the Federal Reserve, if you're a hedge fund, of money you borrowed to bet on fluctuations if you don't own the stock. On the contract for difference trades. That is frightening. No wonder bumbling Blinken looks like he just saw Poltergeist every day. Or The Exorcist. Let me tell you something. The Exorcist is afraid of Biden. The Exorcist is like, yeah, demon. I don't want to mess with you. When Biden speaks, like, things like shake in people's houses. Because the demon wants to come out so badly. It's like, yeah, pay them more. Anyway, let's get to GameStop. Because this is kind of interesting. So, I mean, it's very interesting, but it's kind of a microcosm of what's happening in our society. It'll kind of give you a glimpse into why there will be a stock market crash. And it'll give you a glimpse, like we've had the GameStop squeeze, and then we've had Archegos, the hedge fund, go bankrupt. So in one you had tens of millions in losses, and another you had billions upon billions in losses, and nobody's talking about that. Biden is talking about everything from climate change to you know what, and he does not want to talk about economic growth or protecting the economy or rebuild or fixing the damage that he caused and Democrats caused. He doesn't want to talk about the economy. Do you understand? He doesn't want to talk about it. It's not happening. He doesn't want to even address it. No. And when there's, God forbid, a stock market crash and then you have to bail out banks again, you will have Bernard Sanders, oh my God, the billionaire class, and then AOC. This is not fair. This is not right. It's like you were silent and asleep at the wheel the whole time. Thanks a lot. Anyway, this is important, and it gets to the other CNN article about the shadow government. How Trumpism explains the GameStop stock surge. CNN at the core of Donald Trump's angry populist appeal. So they start off with an argument that really has nothing to do with reality. There are establishment voters who are angry. Anger is not the domain of Trump supporters. The angriest people are lifelong Democrats. So it's the populism is left or right. Populism is a different way of seeing the world from the establishment. The establishment sees the past 20, 30 years and says, hey, nothing's wrong. Everything's fantastic. Generally. The populist, left or right, says, no, we need to fix the economy, or we need to fix or address inequalities. They do so in different ways, but guess what? Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump were saying the same things in 2016. They just were explaining them differently. But so CNN goes, at the core of Donald Trump's angry populist appeal was and is this sentiment: the elites think they know better than you. Well, they do. They do think they know better, and they're always wrong. And when they get bailed out again, because they will, don't think we're not going to bail out banks again if they need bailing out. Okay? And then you will have hyperinflation. Then you will have inflation that lasts with us for a long time. Okay? Then you will have, because if we bailed out the country when it was self-induced, you prevented people from working, and Sweden did not, so don't say that you had to do so. Don't say, if all the experts in the room say jump off a cliff, at the end of the day, it's still not the right thing to do, even if everyone says it. I mean, you learn that early in life. Just your parents tell you, would you jump off a cliff if your friends were doing it? Democrats say, yeah, of course. Well, I mean, everyone's doing it. That's the way they think. You have to understand, because their social circles, you will be excommunicated if you don't abide by their, like in their dinner parties, whether it's a Hollywood or Manhattan, I can tell you how the dinner parties go. Born to raise hogs, everyone here. David, I can tell you how the dinner parties go. I've been to these dinner parties. I know. I'm a lifelong Democrat. Yeah, they're holding the Cabernet Sauvignon or Martini or whatever. Hey, how's work? Good, good. Oh, how's Barbara? Good, good. Yeah, can you believe what Trump is doing? Oh, Trump is so horrible. He's so divisive and polarizing. He's a despot, an authoritarian. Well, I don't know about that. What? What? You know, Tom, did you see what this man just said? I'm joking. Of course he's a despot. Relax, God. Yeah. Oh, my God. It's so horrible. I just wish... I can't wait for... Oh, my God. Okay, so we just need somebody, anybody. Well, Biden is slurring his speech, and he's insulting Democratic voters. You think he has a chance? Yeah, for sure. He's the most popular candidate of all time. He'll be the most popular candidate of all time. Stumbling and bumbling and mashed potato brains. And so they have these, and so you have to believe in this mindset. If you don't believe in the mindset, you're done. You're not friends anymore. They view their political paradigm, and these are, in many cases, atheists. They've replaced religion with politics. So they don't even care if the ICBMs are above, the stock market crashes, a person poops on their car right as they're driving away, and, in the windshield. They don't care. As long as Trump is not tweeting mean things. Their sensibilities are more important than anything else. So when CNN writes, oh, yeah, this is the sentiment. The elites think they know better than you, but think they can tell you how to live and what to believe. But guess what? We, the people, are smarter than the elites. So they're starting off with, he's starting off with this premise here that is kind of accurate, right? But but the theme is, well, of course the elites know better than you, and why would you ever think differently? Trump elucidated this argument in the purest form at a rally in North Dakota in 2018 when he went on this riff. Quote, I meet these people, they call them the elite. These people, I meet these people, they call them the elite. The people, I look at them, I say, the elite. We got more money, we got more brains, we got better houses, apartments, we got nicer boats, we're smarter than they are, and they're the elite. We're the elite, you're the elite, we're the elite. Okay, so what made Trump's argument so potent, politically speaking, is that he wasn't just calling out the elites. He was saying the average Joes needed to rise up and actually show them how wrong they were. That voting for him was the best way to express their frustration, which is true, actually. Everything's true. This is not like, this is actually true, yes, and we were doing great as a country until they tanked everything. And the condescension of their alleged, Donald Trump offered himself as a collective middle finger to the elites. Yeah, it was true, and he won. He still is. And which brings me to the current seemingly inexplicable stock surge of GameStop. This is obviously written several months back. The video game seller that has made us money over the years. The origins of the surge are in the prevalent belief among Wall Street sharps, professional investors, that GameStop's stock, even before this recent spike, was overvalued. After all, the shopping malls are in a long decline. As a result of the belief among pro-investor crowd that GameStop was essentially doomed, they began shorting the stock, essentially betting on it to fail. This happens all the time to a variety of stocks with very little fanfare. It is the way of the modern stock market. Okay, it's always been the way of the stock market, except that this time amateur investors decided to revolt against the pros. Using Reddit and a subreddit known as Wall Street Bets, the amateurs began a coordinated effort of buying GameStop stock to drive the price higher and higher. It's worth noting that Reddit was also a gathering spot for some of the most ardent Trump supporters in 2016. Oh my God, a gathering spot? You mean like 74 million Americans last year, or 64 million Americans? You have to understand, the mentality is that nobody, you have to understand, the mentality is that Trump is such a monstrous anomaly that any place where people would congregate, or any venue that had more than maybe one toothless toothless, horrible, ignorant, lost, toothless Trump supporter has to be a bastion of immorality and instability. So it's worth noting. It's worth noting that Reddit was a gathering spot for some of the most ardent Trump supporters in 2016. Oh my God! That effort to mess with the pros, people with a short position on a stock that is surging, have major vulnerabilities. The higher the stock goes. Got an unexpected boost from none other than iconoclast-in-chief and Tesla founder Elon Musk, who tweeted GameStonk with a link to the Wall Street Bet subreddit on Tuesday. And then they go, Musk has been a longtime critic of social media censoring. I mean, can you believe that he would critique that? And was a prominent you-know-what skeptic. Sound like anyone we know? So, the arguments here from the sensibilities of Democrats or morally superior liberals would be like, yeah, see? And then to everyone else, you, me, we're saying, yeah, this is true. This is very true. So what oftentimes is objective reality is seen as this bizarre, unrealistic world to the people who actually are the elites, or the people who are the establishment, I should say, who have no understanding, no clue why anyone would vote for Trump. I already know why people would vote for Biden, primarily to spite Trump. Silver stacks! That's just like your opinion, man. Yes! The Big Lebowski! Silver stacks, thank you. Born to Raise Hogs, thank you again. Silver stacks! Can I tell you how much I love The Big Lebowski? I'm going to watch it tonight. Again, for the 50th time. Probably more than that. Silver stacks, thank you. That's just like, don't mess with the Jesus. Thank you, Silver Stacks, thank you. And there's no question the populist revolt has worked for GameStop stock. On December 28th, it was trading at $20.99 a share. On Wednesday, it was a shade under $335 a share. What's the end game for GameStop? Now that they've proven the point that they can take a stock that the pros have declared moribund and revive it, at least for a moment, what do they do now? The reason I'm reading this is because the volatility is going to be very detrimental to the country. The volatility that will take place in the market downward, the drastic decrease, the unforeseen, we know it's going to happen, but the unforeseen dramatic decline in stock prices is going to lead to margin calls, which will lead to eventually bankruptcies and potentially bank bailouts. So I don't know how bad it's going to get, but it's going to get pretty bad. And they're asleep at the wheel. And best case scenario, it's a correction. Like a normal market correction, and hedge funds don't go bankrupt, and banks don't lose tens of billions or hundreds of billions of dollars. So that's the best case scenario. The worst case scenario is that the market correction is too much for companies that are over-leveraged, that have purchased too much on margin, that have hid their margin debt with derivatives trading, because they don't own the underlying stock, so they don't have to disclose their debt. The Roz Rodriguez, thank you. The Roz Rodriguez, I hope all is well. Thank you so very much. Hope you're having a great weekend. The Roz Rodriguez, thank you. Thank you so very much. The Roz Rodriguez, thank you so much. Thank you as always. The Roz Rodriguez, I can't do this without you, everybody. Thank you. The Roz Rodriguez, I hope all is well. Thank you so much, as always. So, you had eventually one investment company lose how many millions of dollars? Okay. They lost 49% of their investments the first 3 months. Okay, so hold on. Let me see. Citadel to take back $500 million of its cash infusion to Melvin Capital. New York Times, August 21st, 2021. The hedge fund from Citadel pumped billions of dollars into Melvin Capital after the fund's bet against GameStop went bad, leading to huge losses. Now Citadel is taking some of its money back. Citadel has notified Melvin of its plan to retrieve $500 million of the $2 billion it injected late January, So $2 billion just from... This is how volatile the market is. The Roz Rodriguez, born to raise hogs, silver stacks. Everyone here. This is how volatile and sensitive to swings and susceptible to volatility the market is. You had... Okay. Reddit's not going to be the cause of the crash that's coming up. This is going to happen. Unfortunately. I hope I'm wrong. Like, if I'm wrong and people make fun of me, you also said that Clinton would replace Biden. Well, I said Clinton would lose to Trump also. But I'll be happy if I'm wrong. I'll be happy if it's just a market a correction and we don't have a huge, crash that, kneecaps the entire economy even further, descends us even further into madness and chaos, which, by the way, you should ignore if you can, and focus on life, love, happiness, joy. Your life, personally, should be the opposite of where our country is heading, because our country is heading on a downward spiral, and it's going to get worse, but your life should get better. So don't let media drown out the noise, because look, Leo T. Gahe, the Filipino martial arts master of Pakiti Cali, stated he's an amazing man. He's interviewed on YouTube, and he's just awesome. He possesses a great deal of wisdom, immense wisdom, and he said, when you see your adversary, always say to him, or in your mind say, I've been waiting for you. So I've been waiting for you. So when the adversary or the enemy or the market crash comes, just say, I've been waiting for you. Save your money. Save every month. And don't let the hysteria and the paranoia and the frustration of media get to you, because they're going to sell the fear. I'm not selling fear. I'm just giving you my thoughts and my opinion and my viewpoint, and preparing you and myself and everybody for imminent or impending disaster. But there's no way to predict the level of incompetence. Okay? They're capable of anything. But here, Citadel has notified Melvin of its plan to retrieve $500 million of the $2 billion injected. They had to be bailed out, okay, by a hedge fund. So this firm had to be bailed out by other companies, by other hedge funds, just to make sure it didn't go under. Well, what happens when... And so Credit Suisse and Nomura and Morgan Stanley and others had to bail out or had to incur losses from Archegos, the hedge fund that went under. And initially they were trying to pump money into it to see if it could survive, but it didn't. So what do you think is going to happen? I mean, we've seen the GameStop and Citadel examples have taken place during Mashed Potato Brain's tenure. MAGA 2020! Thank you, MAGA 2020, as always. I hope all is well. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a great weekend. MAGA 2020, a great, safe, happy weekend. MAGA 2020, thank you as always. The Raj Rodriguez, thank you as always. Born to Raise Hogs, thank you so very much. I can't thank you enough. MAGA 2020, thank you. What do you think's going to happen if you take the GameStop fiasco that forced hedge funds to pump billions just so the company that bet against GameStop didn't go under? Okay. CNBC, Melvin Capital, hedge fund that bet against GameStop, lost more than 50% in January. Okay? That's just... Think about this for a second. You have $4 trillion in hedge fund assets. The federal budget is $4 trillion. The federal budget of the largest economy in the world, the U.S. budget is $4 trillion. MAGA 2020, the Roz Rodriguez, Born to Raise Hogs. What do you think happens when, if GameStop, if Melvin Capital lost so much from investors on Reddit, and if Archegos lost its entire business from a fluctuation in Viacom stock? Those are two small examples. That's like two boats collapsing in an ocean of debt and volatility and derivatives trading, where banks are the ones who... So, Credit Suisse, the bank, had a brokerage side. The brokerage side was helping Archegos buy and sell and invest in these contracts called contracts for difference, helping them borrow money to bet on stock fluctuations where they didn't have to notify anyone of how much debt they had because they didn't own the underlying stock. In this case, they didn't actually own Viacom, from what I understand. They just bet on the price increase and decrease. They were obviously betting on the price increase, from what I understand. And the price decreased. So then they got a margin call, which means they had to pony up. They had to inject capital so that their entire stock position wouldn't be taken away, which it was eventually. Because if you buy $10,000 of stock, you could buy $20,000, an additional $10,000 in borrowed money. But when the $10,000 in borrowed money goes to $5,000 or $4,000, you have to put cash in there because the people who loaned you the money, the bank who loaned you the money on margin, says, hey, wait a second, we're not going to give you this money for free. You know, stock's going down. How do we know that the stock won't go under? So go ahead, pump in some cash so we can at least know that our loan to you will be paid back. But if you don't have enough money to pay back the loan, what happens? MAGA 2020. The Raj Rodriguez, Born to Raise Hogs. If you don't have the money to pay back the loan in your hedge fund, then you can rely on banks to bail you out, or if the banks say, nah, we're not going to bail you out, then you go bankrupt. Then the banks lose billions because they've also invested alongside you. So the banks, Credit Suisse, let's see. Archegos liquidation hit Nomura Credit Suisse. Bank shares tumbled amid pain over loss at firm. So why did a sale of stocks from a large U.S. investor slammed global investment banks, Credit Suisse and Nomura, which said they could incur substantial losses related to the trades? That's the Wall Street Journal. They make, by the way, trillions in just trading. So they make just trillions just in the buy and sell, buy and sell, buy and sell. Archegos wipes $9 billion from market value. So you have $9 billion lost. I think I read it was $10 billion. But investors on Wednesday tallied the fallout from Archegos Capital meltdown, with Nomura and Credit Suisse shares losing a collective $9 billion. Okay? With heightened scrutiny, they lost $9 billion for one small hedge fund. One small hedge fund. What happens if a larger one goes under? What happens if a larger one goes under? This one article, Credit Suisse, Nomura, that's a Japanese bank, and others staring at $10 billion in loss. $10 billion. Leading global investment banks, Credit Suisse, Nomura, and others caught up in the Archegos fallout could face losses adding up to $10 billion, according to J.P. Morgan. We now expect losses well beyond normal unwinding scenarios for the industry. These are the canaries, the GameStop and Archegos. The GameStop and Archegos lessons or incidents should be a lesson. Should kind of foreshadow or kind of hint at what is probably almost certainly going to take place. I'm predicting a stock market crash. I say save your money. Save as much money as possible. Save as my. I say that I'm saying this for my super chat, but it's like it's counterintuitive. But MAGA 2020, Roz Rodriguez, Born to Raise Hawks, everybody here, save as much money as possible for a rainy day, because I think these rainy days are going to be coming. We have, look, you have to understand, Trump, the shadow government they're talking about is the discontent that Biden's incompetence naturally causes. That's what the CNN article below talks about in the description, okay? It's the same nonsense as the GameStop article that blamed people for being upset at Wall Street, which you have every reason to be upset. Look what's taking place. The regulators, they're not regulating. Regulators, mount up. They're not regulating. Then you're going to say, Bernard Sanders, regulators, the regulators. You have to regulate if you participate. How come they didn't regulate the market, the wealth inequality, and the billionaire class? And he's just going to keep on tweeting the same things over again. Meanwhile, I am telling you, everyone can see. They've already stated, and the information is below. Excellent, Mark. Excellent. Save. Everybody save money. They've already stated in the articles below, regulators here. Why contracts for differences are back under scrutiny. Washington Post. Billions of secretive derivatives lie at the reason Archegos went under. Pressure mounts on financial regulators to address Archegos. Yahoo. Market Watch. Here are the complex bets at the heart of the unprecedented Archegos fall. Bloomberg. Why contracts for difference are back under scrutiny. How secret derivatives trading led to the fiasco. Okay. All of these articles in the wake of Archegos is interesting. The SEC should end 13F loopholes. That's interesting. So all of these articles are talking about how regulators don't know how much debt. They don't know how much debt these hedge funds are holding. They don't know how much margin they're on, how many derivatives have been purchased. The contracts, the derivatives are contracts. They're not necessarily ownership of stock. They're a contract pertaining to the volatility of stocks. So, similar to a stock option, or a call or a put, but this is different. You don't have to own the stock. You can just own a contract where you make money off the fluctuation. So, they don't know. The regulators have a number that they feel is okay with. The regulators have a number that they say, well, you know, these companies are not over leveraged, but they actually don't know the true amount of money they've borrowed because of these loopholes. But what do you think is going to happen if the market collapses and banks have to be bailed out? Where's the money that's... So you have two choices. Either we don't have the money to bail them out and they go under and that tanks the economy further. Or we bail them out again and the value of the dollar turns to the toilet paper that we have to, stockpile. When Democrats yet again want to, you just wait. There'll be like a stock market crash, a collapse, and then they'll want a shutdown because of you know what. They'll still be focused on that. They're not changing their tune. They're too invested in their own sensibilities and hysteria. Heart disease and cancer ended the lives of more Americans, but they don't want to hear that. And don't talk about obesity. You better not. If you talk about obesity, you will be excommunicated from, don't talk about obesity, even though, the statistics show that, a whole bunch of things. The truth needs to be suppressed. The truth needs to be suppressed. If you talk about the truth, it actually undermines a great deal of the ideologies that prop up the Democratic Party or liberal ideology, so can't talk about them. All of that's going to change, like I said, in 2022. In 2022, all of that will change. We'll have Trump Republicans in the House. Biden will get impeached. I mean, my God. How much worse, ladies and gentlemen, do you think it's going to get? I think it's going to get a lot worse. Scorp Target, hello. I think it's going to get a lot worse. I think that when you look, ladies and gentlemen, when you look at Biden's handling of Afghanistan, you look at his handling of Afghanistan, and ask yourself, how's he going to handle a financial collapse? Okay, like I said, last year was self-induced. This year or next year, the crash could be the result of a self-induced financial collapse that we never rebounded from. We never rebounded. The Wall Street traders thought would rebound the economy. It didn't. The hysteria and paranoia from media is omnipresent. It never changes. Media also will be a huge reason why we continue to collapse financially and in other ways. What media does is, like, when I'm telling you about the doom and gloom, I'm saying focus on love, life, joy, happiness, and save money. I'm, at least in my humble way, giving a roadmap to ignore the hysteria. But I'm telling you that things are going to get worse. But I'm not doing so in a way where I'm like tubining myself. The tubing. So they've tubing themselves every single day. They have sold this fear and paranoia, and they've manipulated the fear and paranoia into this belief that the only way excuse me, that you can survive is to listen to the experts that agree with Democrats. So they've channeled fear and hysteria into manipulating compliance, or fabricating this consensus, or justifying their failed policies. They say, look at how much fear and hysteria there is. Look at all the paranoia that we're selling. And the only way to survive all of this is to listen to us. And then when they're wrong, they sell more fear. And now that we're wrong, you have to listen to us even more than ever. And then they're wrong again, and you have to listen to us more than ever. Look at the fear and paranoia. And then when they're wrong again, if you had just listened to everything we said and not 98% of what we said, because of the 2%, that's the people who caused all of this. You have to listen to us even more now. Again, you didn't listen to us. Again. And it goes on and on. Okay? They keep losing, and they keep blaming their failed policies on the fact you didn't listen to them. And the reality is, half the country does listen to them. Half the country continues to fail alongside media and Democrats. And what you're seeing in Biden's speech the other day, mashed potato brains, and his bumbling band of frightened, petrified, deer in the headlights highly educated, polished imbeciles and buffoons who are completely incompetent, but they're really, really polished. And they're really good in front of the camera. If you can see their face when they're not wearing you-know-what, which I always found to be the height of, but I'm not even going to go there. You cannot see with Trump. He's a billionaire. He's a businessman. He cares about. Trump has always judged success, as a lot of people judge success by a dollar amount, okay, or an easily defined, definition of success, where you could say, okay, this is successful. So Trump's perspective, we had record low unemployment. What's there not to like? He didn't realize that there were so many other issues that media and Democrats would focus on to turn the country's attention away from his successes. He was a successful president in terms of the economy. He was a successful president in terms of foreign policy. He got things done. Trump did not communicate correctly. That was his problem. Trump fell for social media traps. That was his problem. If he can fix that and not fall for the same social media problems, not fall for the same traps, they kept poking him, and he kept getting angrier, and he fell for a trap. Now you have, if this is the whole thing I'm reading now, George W. Bush. It talks about, he just parrots the same Democratic nonsense. Oh, we have horrible people at home, and that's just like the people who caused, the tragedy of September 11th. It's like, no, George W. Bush was the worst, in my view, worse than Hoover, worse than Herbert Hoover, because Herbert Hoover, even though the 1929 crash took place under his watch, he didn't set us on a course of never-ending wars that Biden voted for. Bush was the worst president of all time. Okay? The worst president of all time. We had a financial collapse at the end of his presidency. We had the worst day in U.S. history towards the beginning of his presidency. We had the same groupthink and, the same media hysteria that we did. We had the same union of media and politics or politicians. They went after Vietnam War heroes, veterans. They were despicable. Karl Rove and Lincoln Project people and all of these people, that they were despicable. And these are the people that firmly, within the Democratic Party now. That's why they don't like Trump. That's why you see that photo of President Obama and Bush, and they're so happy together because they're two sides of the same coin. The establishment has gotten it wrong always. Look at the past 20 years. From the war on a word to bank bailouts, and we're heading towards the same thing. We've armed the T-ban because bumbling Biden, or bumbling Blinken and mashed potato brains, left $28 billion in weaponry. And not a word as to why. Because Pompeo and Trump never... That was... Had the Afghan military collapsed prior, all bets would have been off. Because the Afghan military didn't collapse before May. May 1st was... We should have gotten every American out. And then you could have dealt with... the the loss in $28 billion of weaponry. Jimmy Carter also, one of the worst presidents ever. Bush, Jimmy Carter, and now mashed potato. Does anyone? But this is a question. This is a question for people. Does anyone believe that Biden really knows or decides on anything? Does anyone believe that mashed potato brains actually decides on any course of action? We have an economy that's in the tank, and he's focused on protocols that are counterproductive economically. We have an economy that is in the tank right now. We are heading towards a cliff, a disaster, an absolute disaster. And I'm not selling hysteria. I'm telling you, focus on your life, love, happiness, joy, success. Focus on your happiness and your health. And don't get caught up in the media hysteria, because what media does is they say, oh, well, look, now we're focused on this. Well, you weren't focused on this a day ago, which means nobody should really listen to you. But they'll act like they're the authorities. Do you think that the world or our adversaries or our enemies or our rivals, because we have rivals, we have countries that are rivals, we have enemies, those are two different things. The Taliban is obviously an enemy, but we're beholden to them now because we need every American home. Okay, a rival could be seen as China or Russia. So, it's like, do you think the rivals or enemies of this country look at our mashed potato brains, our mashed potato brain president? Do you think they say, wow, that's somebody I don't want to mess with? I'm not talking about militarily. I'm not a fan of any intervention or any, I don't want, I'm not talking about militarily, because we've had 20 years of that. And we've asked our soldiers to do the impossible. And we owe a debt of gratitude we can never repay as a country for their bravery and the sacrifice, heroism, courage. But do you think that our adversaries or enemies, or you think they look at mashed potato brains and say, wow, I don't want to get on his bad side. He is so smart and strategic and intelligent and possesses so much wisdom. And he could out-negotiate us. You think they look at mashed potato brains and they say this? The secret spaceship! The voice of good, smart, kind, hopeful, alert, patriotic, truthful journalism is H.A. Goodman, lover of the Constitution and a peaceful world. Thanks, brother. The secret spaceship, greatly appreciated. What a beautiful message. And greatly, greatly appreciated. The secret spaceship. Thank you so very much. Very kind of you. Very, very, very kind of you. And thank you for the wonderful, beautiful message. The Secret Spaceship, one of the great names in the history of this channel. The Secret Spaceship. Thank you. Eric, H526, hello. Luke, hello. Thank you, The Secret Spaceship. Thank you so very much for the kind words. If I started my, and I'm not making fun of anybody, because you know what, heaven forbid, everybody can get to that at that certain age. But if I started every single day on this channel, oh, ladies and gentlemen, we're having here is a problem. And you have to pay them more. If I'm mumbling and slurring my speech, if I'm mumbling and slurring my speech and incoherent and just say, oh, well, it's a speech impediment. Who believes this? We all know that mashed potato brains is, doesn't communicate like the average individual. We'll leave it at that. Don't you think that everyone else sees this? Don't you think everyone else sees this? Hey, come on, man. Come on, man. Cornflakes, man. Cornflakes, man. If China, God forbid, invades Taiwan, what is he going to say? Come on, man. Come on, man. Semiconductors, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man, Z. Come on now, Z. Come on, Z, man. What is he going to say? He'll start off, God forbid. We've just got reports from the intelligence cornflakes that the People's Liberation, whatever, has taken Gilligan's Island, invaded Gilligan's Island, 100 miles away. Yeah, man. And we'll defend Gilligan's Island. You know what I mean? And you know the deal. And stop the invasion. Stop it. Stop the invasion of Gilligan's Island. Stop it. Stop. 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 Stop it. It's bad. It's wrong. It's bad. You know I'm bad. I'm bad. You know it. Stop it. That's what he's going to do. And everyone is going to be like, what is this? What is this man doing? What is this man doing? Shirley MacLaine. You know the thing. Exactly. You know the thing, man. Hey, Z-Man. Come on, man. Stop that. Stop the invasion of Taiwan, man. What do you think? And God forbid it happens as the financial collapse takes place. So they're like, oh, okay, this is our chance. So they invade Taiwan. Can you imagine if there's a stock market crash and China invades Taiwan? Can you imagine Biden? Hey, everybody stop it now, man. Everybody stop this, man. Come on, man. It's not fair, man. You're doing all these bad things at once, man. Blinken, man. Come on. Have cornflakes and blink and talk. And then blink. Have you heard this man's blink? The intelligence reports show that everything will be fine. He looks like his roommate is Poltergeist. He looks like his significant other is Hellraiser. Like, this man is frightened. Petrified, do you know what I mean? Petrified. Indy Wood! Indy Wood, thank you so very much. Indy Wood, thank you. Thank you, Indy. Thank you so very much, Indy. Thank you. Thank you so much. I hope all is well. And thank you for always the super thanks. Thanks. Thank you so much. Hobo Golf, thank you. Thank you, Indy Wood. Thank you, everybody. This is in August 25th. China mobilizes civilian ferries for Taiwan invasion drill. Hey, man. Hey, come on now, cruise ship. Love boat, man. Love boat. He's completely bonkers. He's bonkers. Hey, man. Tell cornflakes not to get the love boats to invade Gilligan's Island, man. Come on, Blinken, help me out, man. Come on, man. Stop it. Yeah, man. Don't make me whisper, man. Indy Wood, thank you so very, very much. Like, he doesn't, the one thing that he doesn't do, Fantasy Island, Captain Stubing, Captain Tubing, remember, Fantasy, hey man, don't invade Fantasy Island, man. The plane, man, the plane, come on, man. The plane, man. The plane. We will do 10 more minutes. Captain Tubing. That's what the new that's what their new Pentagon spokesman will be. Captain Tubing. This is Anthony Blinken, and we'll hand it off now to Captain Tubing. We have a stock market crash, and they invaded Taiwan, and God forbid, everything else is happening at once. Oh, by the way, there's a nuclear confrontation. Captain Tubing, what do we do? They don't know. They have no clue. Look, okay. They don't know. They have no clue what will happen, God forbid, 2 months from now that could be catastrophic. They don't know, they don't care. Okay? They don't know and they don't care. They have no clue. So when they say everything's under control, I'm telling you they have no clue. They have no clue. They don't care, they don't care, they don't know, they don't care. They don't know, they don't even know. They have no clue about anything. They have no clue. They have absolutely no clue about what's going on. They don't get it. Captain Tubing doesn't get it. Blinken doesn't get it. Mashed potato brains, who knows what he gets. He's probably hopped up on lots of Starbucks coffee. Espresso, yeah. Double, triple espresso, sure. Nothing more than espresso. Mashed potato brains probably, to get him going. Probably like Starbucks coffee. With caramel macchiato with the double or triple or quadruple or, even more espresso. Of course, that's what I mean. Just the coffee. Just the coffee beans, nothing else. Not referring to anything else. No. Not referring to anything else that could give him a jolt of energy. And soy burgers. Oh my God. So let's look at Joe Biden. I'll take him under the woodshed. Take him behind the bleachers, man. Hey, Z-man. Hey, Putin, man. Let's go behind the bleachers, man. So Trump slams Biden and said America will be made great again. Oh, my God. Trump is just going to be, like I said, a shadow presidency. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. I'll be back at 11. So Eric, Luke, everybody here, I'll be back at 11 p.m. Pacific tonight. Be here at 11, everybody. God bless you. God bless America. And God bless all the veterans of this country who kept us safe since the beginning of this country in the past 20 years. Thank you. Our country owes a debt of gratitude that we can never repay to you forever. I'll be back, ladies and gentlemen, at 11 p.m. to my super chat. Thank you so very much. And I will be back. Thanks, everybody. Have a great, great evening. Be here for the live stream at 11 p.m. tonight. Thanks, everybody.